Hey, we're going to be talking about what not to do if you have an avoidant partner. And specifically, we're referring to people that have an avoidant attachment style from the book called Attached. If you've read it or heard anything about it, a new discovery that they've made about attachment styles in adults. And I want to give you guys my best tips on what not to do if your partner has an avoidant attachment style. If you haven't seen my video on how to deal with a partner who has an avoidant attachment style, watch the video linked below. In order for me to give you the best advice of what not to do with an avoidant attachment partner, I need to assume a couple of things about you. And the reason I'm doing this is to better understand your dynamic in your relationship, and as well as give you the advice that is going to be the most helpful to your situation. For the sake of this video, we are going to assume that you are in an anxious attachment style partner and you're in a relationship with the partner who is avoidant. So you're having a lot of conflict in understanding each other and being able to meet each other's needs emotionally, especially you, because you need more of that quality time with your partner, and they just want to elude every conversation, every argument, every conflict. So if you recognize yourself in this situation, listen up. You need to understand that your partner's avoidance of you does not mean that they hate you. It does not mean that they don't love you. It is simply their coping mechanism, the way that they were programmed from childhood, so something that they grew up with and something that they developed in the course of their lifespan in order to deal with situations that are uncomfortable, conflicting, and make them feel vulnerable. Again, them avoiding you has nothing to do with how much they love you. And I know you're probably watching this because you've been hurt by their avoidance and you want to form that close communication and your partner is just not doing it anymore. To help you navigate the situation, I've compiled a list of things that you should know not to do in your communication with your partner. The first thing is their dismissive, elusive behavior. When you're trying to confront them about something important, or you're trying to make them open up emotionally to you, and they just want to run away, they hide, you can physically see how uncomfortable they are talking to you, or they just sit there and they shut down. In most cases, it's not that they don't care about you or think that whatever you have to say is not important. Although this can be the case, but it's going to be for a very small amount of couples. But the way that you know that you're not in this group is that specifically people that don't like their partner and their avoidant attachment style, there's going to be a whole set of behaviors that they consistently show to you. So I really want you to put this option aside, especially for the sake of this video. And if you really do feel like you're in that small percentage of group and you want to know what those behaviors are, leave me a comment down below saying part 2 and I'll know to make that video next. Let's go back to the scenario. You're trying to talk to your partner about something that is uncomfortable for them, and they start to exhibit one of those behaviors, which is either shutting down, running away, becoming really uncomfortably physically in front of you, and you can see it by their body language that they're just closing up and they're tightening up. And you're starting to get frustrated because you want to have that important conversation or you want them to tell you about something. In that moment, it is your job to recognize the signals that your partner is sending out to you. And this can be the hardest part, because when we are trying to be passionate about something and our frustration is going up because we're not getting the end result that we want, that is when we start to push harder for what we want. And that can be the number one mistake that you make in your relationship communication. So instead of pushing for that conversation to happen when you're passionate about talking to him about it or her about it, I want you to take a moment and pause and think about yourself. Just imagine that you were a third person in that room and you're observing this whole scenario play out. How do you look? How does your body language look? How about your tone of voice? What about the words that you are saying? Are they condemning? Are they condescending? Are they aggressive? What about your voice and your facial expressions? Because sometimes we are completely unaware of our facial expressions. It could be that your partner is tensing up because of the way that you're trying to have that conversation. And I'm guessing that you've been with your partner enough to know that they're avoidant, You've already established a pattern of behaviors between one another, so you understand that they are going to shut down because you've previously experienced this. If you want the conversation to go differently, you need to be a good listener and a good participant in the conversation and make your partner feel comfortable. When we start to get frustrated and our emotions go up, everything starts going up, we begin to project that onto our partner, and they feel that, they see that. It is something that is undeniable to them, and it could be something that just makes them feel uncomfortable, whether it be the topic of the conversation or the way that you are showing up in that conversation. So they begin to shut down because that is what they know to do when they feel uncomfortable. I hope that you're beginning to understand a little bit about what's going on in this situation if you're out of your own head, from a point of view that is out of your own head. Now, you may be super conscious about your position in that conversation, but your partner is still reacting in that avoidant way. In this case, you need to allow them to take the space that they require. Because the quickest way to start from a disagreement or a misunderstanding and escalate it straight into an argument is to force a conversation when your partner is not ready to have it. And I know this is so hard to hear for some people because you're a straight shooter. You want to talk about it when you feel like talking about it, when it comes up in the moment. But if you want to be compatible with that partner, if that is your goal to stay with the partner that you're with, you need to adapt to their language. You need to be able to understand each other and communicate in a healthy way. And the first thing is not forcing someone to do something they're not ready to do. You need to provide that safe space for them to open up when they feel like it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't motivate them to talk about things. You definitely should. But maybe if the approach that you've been using up to this point has not been working for you, it's time to shift. If your partner begins to dismiss you and walk away, let them do it. Let them take that space, and you take that moment to validate your own feelings. If you're feeling frustrated, sad, angry, passionate, whatever it is, take a moment, take a breath, and just in your mind, name at least 3 emotions that you're feeling in that moment. What this does is it takes the edge off of that intense emotional feeling, and it will help you ground yourself so that you are balanced in your feelings and in the way that you show up in that relationship. Most importantly, it is going to help validate you, because when you feel like your partner is dropping the ball in making you feel comfortable in certain situations or opening up to you, the worst thing that you can do is allow yourself to stay in that state. The more your feelings pile up on one another, the frustration, the anger, the feeling alone in your relationship, the lack of intimacy, lack of communication, all of those things, even though it started from one specific small instance, your mind is naturally going to blow it out of proportion until eventually that is all that you feel and see. So your job is to be able to self-regulate your own emotions. And when your partner feels like they need space, give it to them. I want to save you a lot of pain, and that is why I'm telling you things straight up the way they are. And please understand that you being with your partner is a choice that you're making. If you feel like your partner's behavior is just too much for you to deal with and you want out, that is your choice as well. In many instances, I find that couples in these situations have been doing this for a few years, and maybe they built a life together, so starting over isn't necessarily an option they want to take unless it's forced upon them. That is why it is so important to understand our partner, to be able to accept them with all of their imperfections and things that we don't understand about them. Another thing you need to know is that you should never use any person as your emotional crutch. So if you feel like your partner isn't giving you the feelings that you want, and they're not there for you because of their avoidant attachment style, that is something that you need to fix within yourself. I'm not saying there's something wrong with you, you just haven't learned the ways of validating your own emotions, of being self-sufficient. And I don't blame you, because I've been there too. That is why, even by you watching this video, it is going to open up your capacity to do things differently in a way that serves you better. Another thing you should not be doing, especially if your partner is an avoidant attachment style, is act like your entire world revolves around them. Because people with an avoidant attachment style really need to feel the sense of freedom. If they don't, they're going to lash out on you because they will feel like they're chained down, they feel like they have no will, and they have to do every little thing with you. And there is a healthy way to allow them the freedom and the space to do that, and that is by cultivating a relationship where there is trust and comfort in one another, as well as a healthy sense of codependence within that relationship. The only way that you will be able to not have them be the center of your universe is if you are working on yourself to be self-sufficient, to be a happy human being, a wholesome person, I like to call it, so that when you're entering that relationship, you have something to offer the relationship and your partner instead of constantly being needy, give me, like a child does with their parent. The reason you don't want to do that is because a healthy relationship foundation is when two people come together by choice. And when you're constantly putting pressure on your partner to meet your needs that you're not giving to yourself, it can look very needy, it can look very desperate, clingy, and it is going to suck the life out of your partner and your relationship until you end up with something you don't want at all. It is definitely going to trigger their avoidance to just get away from you because you need so much from them and they hate that pressure. And the last point I want to make is don't be resentful to your partner for not being the person that you thought they were going to be. And I know this one is a hard one to swallow, but when we're dating and we are fond of one another, you naturally want to open up and build trust. And that can be an explanation to why your partner was such a different person from what they are today. There is nothing wrong with them. There is nothing wrong with your relationship. The problem is that you guys had some experiences that taught your partner to defend themselves from you or close up from you. And maybe they don't feel safe in certain situations. But they're not going to tell you that because that is going to hurt their ego and their pride. So what do? Well, their behavior expresses everything that I just talked about. So what should you not do in the relationship with an avoidant attachment partner? Number one, understand that their dismissive, avoidant behavior has nothing to do with their love for you. Number two, even if you're completely self-aware of how you are showing up in that relationship, you should still take a moment to pause and allow for them to have the space to come talk to you when they want to. Focus on cultivating that foundation where there's lots of trust and understanding. Number three, learn to be self-sufficient and self-regulate your emotions. Number four, do not act like your entire world revolves around your partner. And I'm not just saying act, but actually exist in a way that doesn't put them at the center of your universe, because that completely robs you of the amazing person that you are. And number five, do not allow yourself to build resentment for them not meeting the expectations that you had for them when you first met them. I really hope that this video is going to help you in your relationship. I really want to wish you the most happiness in your love life. And if you want to learn more about me, you can visit my Instagram handle. I'll have it down here. I'll see you guys in my next video.